Nick Wright, first things first. Okay, so there was a show on last night called The Shop, and it's LeBron James, Candace Parker, Maverick Carter, Jon Stewart, OBJ, Snoop, there's a bunch of famous people. Draymond Green. And Draymond, of the many things said, Draymond Green comes out and he says, LeBron really became great 4 years ago, and that's when LeBron decided, hey, I'm going to be my own guy. And I'm thinking, really? LeBron just became great 4 years ago? You give me, Nick, a timeline, because you're the official encyclopedic LeBron James chronicler. Go through his career. I think Draymond's sort of embellishing here or underselling LeBron.
Well, listen, Draymond is stating that 4 years ago he saw it up close and personal. It's no coincidence that 4 years ago is the first time Draymond and LeBron faced off in the finals, which is why he's using that line of demarcation. But I'll use a much simpler one. May 31st, 2007. What happened that day? That was Game 5 of the 2007 Eastern Conference Finals, otherwise known as the 48 Special Game against the Pistons. From that moment forward, LeBron has been the best player in the world, but it did not end there. Then you take the Game 7 performance against the San Antonio Spurs to give LeBron his second straight championship in a season where he won his fourth MVP in 5 years. Should have been sixth straight, but I won't harp on that. And with a 37-12 performance, that was the day he got on the corner of the all-time Pantheon top 5 players. And then there was something Draymond, of course, saw up close and very personal and left him crying in a car in a parking lot after the game recruiting Kevin Durant. And that was the final 3 games of the 2016 NBA Finals, where LeBron put on the greatest 3-game performance in the history of the sport against the greatest team in the history of the sport up to that point. And that was the moment he met and passed Michael Jordan. Since then, he's averaged a triple-double in 1 finals. The following year, took a team that otherwise would have won 20 games to 50 wins, put up 45 in a Game 7, hit a game winner, swept a 59-win team, then hit another game winner and won a Game 7 on the road against the number 1 defense in basketball before going 51-9-9 against Draymond in Game 1 of the NBA Finals with a weakened supporting cast before, of course, the referees and his teammates stole that game from him. So that's the actual timeline. Draymond gave the more abbreviated version, but I at least see where he was going.
Yes. See, I told you, it's an encyclopedia. It's just, I like LeBron, and I can't even, match that stuff. I'd need Google.
And shout out, by the way, just real quick on the shop, shout out to your and my mutual friend Maverick Carter for continuing to evolve as his own mogul outside of LeBron. That is one hell of a show we put together last night, and I can't wait to see the next one.
Name drop. I'm having lunch with him in a couple of weeks. That sounded really impressive.
I'm sure you are, Colin.
Yes.
That L.A. life. That L.A. celebrity life.
Whatever. Okay, so I said, I started the show today. I said I have a new favorite athlete in the NFL, Malcomm Jenkins. And he says, oh, good Lord, I hate the Super Bowl banner they put in our locker room. And I was saying this, Nick. I said, if you think about it, in their own state, the Steelers have 6 rings. They have 1. In their own division, the Cowboys have 5, the Giants 4, the Redskins 3, the Eagles have 1. In fact, in their own city, the Villanova Wildcats are the current dynasty in Philadelphia, not the Eagles. I'm a grinder. Okay, I admit it's kind of obsessive. But I look at Philadelphia, and I don't think they'll repeat. It's not because they don't have Wentz and a great offensive line. But I do think they look distracted, a little bit like Seattle. Do you buy into that?
Well, I think they would take the year Seattle followed their Super Bowl up with, which was getting within a play of repeating. Here's what I do think, though. I think Malcomm hit this spot on. Malcolm's one of the smartest, most erudite football players we have. I've had the pleasure of sitting with him for a couple hours talking things outside of football, but he has this exactly right. I try to take the Eagles at their word. What was the theme of last season? Joy Taylor said this a half hour ago. We're underdogs. We're selling the masks. We're wearing the masks. We are saying nobody believed in us up to and including right before they got on the parade buses. They sent out a clip of me of all people saying they weren't going to win the Super Bowl. And then Jason Kelce gets on the stage at the parade and says no one believed in us. This guy was on roids. This guy can't stay healthy. We're all underdogs. That's now gone forever. You are the defending champs with your MVP quarterback coming back. So they are going to have to find a new way to motivate themselves, because every team that comes to play them will obviously be motivated. That, I think, is an issue for them. And the other thing that I think is an issue is, if you look at who they drew in the schedule, it's not just the Vikings and the Rams because of first-place schedule. They drew the NFC South, as did everyone in their division. That ain't great. They drew the AFC South, a division that produced 2 playoff teams, and the 2 teams that didn't make the playoffs have Andrew Luck, I believe your godson, and Deshaun Watson coming back to their teams next year. So, it's a tough schedule. I still think they have the most talented offensive and defensive lines in the league.
They do.
But your skepticism, I think, is warranted.
Odell Beckham signed, and, I've gone back and forth on Odell, and, I said this the other day. Yesterday, I said, part of this is Pat Shurmur, is that if you give me Sean McVay, you give me Kyle Shanahan, you give me Pat Shurmur just made Case Keenum get MVP votes. Case Keenum is undrafted.
He's Case Keenum. That's who he is.
He's Case Keenum. Case closed. And so I'm thinking to myself, with Odell Beckham, the theatrics aside, you can make an argument. Look at the best teams in the league. Pittsburgh's got receivers. Atlanta's got receivers. The Rams got receivers. The Chargers. You start adding up, and maybe with all these rule changes, the catch rule's overturned, the helmet rule's now going to be enforced. You've always been an Odell Beckham guy. I'm kind of like more today. I kind of get it.
A little evolution. My partner, Chris Carter, is going to be so thrilled. You no longer think receivers are, I think, to quote you, just icing on the cake, not the actual cake.
Yeah.
I think that's a direct comment. Yeah. Well, and as far as Odell goes, who are the 3 best receivers in football? You can argue out the order. Odell, Antonio, and Julio. Who does Antonio have throwing to him? Big Ben. Who does Julio have throwing to him? Matt Ryan. Who does Odell have throwing it to him?
Yeah.
Eli Manning. Yeah. Eli Manning, who the year before Odell got there, had 27 interceptions on the year and a 69 quarterback rating. Odell's the most impactful receiver in the sport. You can argue he's the most impactful non-quarterback in the sport. You saw it last year when he got hurt. What happened to the Giants? Oh, that's right. They went 3-13. If you take his worst individual season of catches, of yards, of touchdowns, you get 91, 1305, and 10. Chris said today on the show that he thinks somewhere in this contract he could either have a 2,000-yard receiving year or a 20-touchdown year. That's the type of talent this guy has.
Yeah.
And if the biggest distraction is some emotion on the sideline and some histrionics, I will always deal with that. I think the Giants made a mistake by going with Barkley instead of a quarterback. But by making that mistake, what they have done is they've said we have a window of right now, maybe next year. In order to reach whatever potential they have, they needed Odell in the fold. Signing him was smart, and I expect a monster year from Odell Beckham.
Okay, most receivers are still icing, but a couple of them are such good icing that they seep into the cake, and they become part of the cake.
Mm-hmm. And Russell Westbrook's so selfish he averages a dozen assists a game. I get it, Colin. I totally follow.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.